Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Death Row History Channel. I am your host, Mr. Toad, and boy do I have another good video for you. As you saw in the last video, we started going over the New York Death Commission. In the last video, we covered the history, who were the players, Mr. Jerry, Mr. Southwick, and Mr. Hale, So in this video, we will be going over the methods that were on that list of 34 that were submitted in 1877 to the New York Death Commission for consideration as an alternative to hanging. Now, I warn you at this point, for those that have a weak constitution, this is probably not the video for you, because there are some very barbaric descriptions of these methods. But if you don't have a weak constitution, strap in and enjoy the ride. Okay, first on the list, we have auto da fe, which is the famous method of execution of witches. It says, parentheses, burning to death for heresy. Okay, so we can't hang people. Let's burn them. Yeah, that works. Number 2, we have beating with clubs. Number 3, beheading. Number 4, blowing from a cannon. I will get more into that in the next video because there was actually some discussion over that particular method. Yeah, to say it was interesting is a understatement. Number 5, we have boiling. Yeah, because that's what everybody wants. I sentence you to death by boiling. Usually in hot water, sometimes in melted sulfur or lead. I don't care how you do it, boiling is not a good alternative to hanging. Number 6, breaking on the wheel. We all know what that is. That harkens back to medieval times, You strap someone down and you turn the wheel until their bones are powdered. Number 7, burning. Seems like we've seen that before on the list. Number 8, burying alive. Okay then. Number 9, crucifixion. Well, I guess, if it worked for the Romans, it works for us. Yeah. Number 10, decimation, a military punishment for mutineers. Pretty much, it's like death by the 10th man, which means that if one man deserts, then the other 9 will kill him. Number 11, dictomy, which is cutting someone in half. Number 12, dismemberment, which is like dictomy, but even messier. Yeah. Number 13, you have drowning. I don't understand how they were gonna handle that one. Either you hang someone up by their feet and dunk them in the water, or the executioner just holds their head underwater. I don't know. Some of these, I honestly don't know how you would practically use it. Number 14, exposure to wild beasts. Again, that falls in the same category as drowning. I don't know how they would actually administer this punishment. 15, flaying. That's Flaying. Which flaying is more commonly what we would call filleting. It's to skin someone alive. Again, like the last two, not sure how you're going to actually administer that. I honestly believe at some point they just started going around the room saying, what's the most gruesome method you can think of? And this is where they got the list from. 16, flogging. For those of you that don't know what flogging is, because I'm pretty sure there are people that aren't familiar with that term. Flogging would be beating someone with a whip until they die. Yeah. Number 17, garrote, strangling with a cord. Now, I have seen photos of what they would have used for that, and really what it was is a chair attached to a piece of board, and you would put the rope around the person's neck, and the executioner would stand behind the device and twist until the person ultimately, well, died. Number 18, the guillotine. That needs no introduction. The guillotine worked for centuries in France. France actually used the guillotine up until 1973. So, I mean, from the 1500s to 1973, the guillotine worked perfect. So, that one was actually an intelligent suggestion. Number 19, I will say this, 19 on the list makes me laugh. Because the whole purpose of this committee is to find an alternative to hanging. Well, why not just use hanging? Number 19 is hanging. So, the whole purpose of this committee is to find an alternative to hanging. And someone in the committee decided, let's just use hanging. It's not broke. It ain't broke. Don't fix it. Well, it was broke. Number 20 is harikiri, which, for those that aren't familiar, is a old world term for suicide. 21, impalement. Again, like others on this list, I have no clue how they would administer that. Like, I seriously don't. Are you gonna put spikes in the execution chamber and just drop the person? Or what? Yeah. 22, the Iron Maiden. It says here, a machine in the image of the Virgin Mary equipped with spring-loaded knives, which means they would put the person in this machine. As soon as it closed, the knives come out, and they impale the person. Then you have pene forte et dur. Again, I don't know Latin, so I probably butchered that. That translates to placing heavy weights to stop breathing. So yes, you put weights on a person. Yeah. Number 24, poisoning. which I've got a feeling that would be what, well, I'll address that one later, because I have a feeling that's what they were, that one of the ones that they actually, one of the finalists would actually, be used, that poisoning actually could work, from what I've seen. Number 25, another one of my favorites that just kind of makes me scratch my head, is pounding in a mortar. Yes, that's like it sounds. You know, you have the spice grinder, you know, or for the Hispanic folk, the molcajete. You know, you put your spices in, you take the pestle, you pound the peppercorns into pepper. Well, same thing with this, except it's a person and not a spice. 26 is precipitation. No, that's not water. That's throwing someone off a cliff. 27, pressing to death. 28, the rack. 29, running the gauntlet. Being made to walk between two lines of men, each of whom has a club. So again, we're going to beating to death. I don't see how that's at all humane. 30 is shooting. 31, stabbing. 32, stoning. 33, strangulation. We saw that with the garrote. And 34, suffocation. Now, of this list, I honestly cannot find, I can find one on the list. Of this list right here, I can find one that if I was on death row at that time, there's one that I would actually say, okay. And that is the guillotine. That's it. The rest of them are just these barbaric, they pretty much took every execution method in history up to that point and said, let's just see. Because there's a lot of them that I honestly do not, I don't see how the application would be at all possible. Primarily exposure to wild beasts. Unless they're going to build a coliseum in New York, that's not going to work. The exposure to wild beasts would be more akin to the gladiator fights of ancient Rome. And that's pretty much, that was the list. The 24 of the 34 of the 34, they would come up with 3, and actually no, of the 34, all 34 after the deliberations, which we will get into in the next video, all of them would be shot down for various reasons. But we'll get more into that in later videos, because that decision would lead us to ultimately what New York decided on. So again, this has been Mr. Toad with Death Row History Channel. I hope you're all having a wonderful night, and I'm gone.